Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is all about the iT32, a tiny little speedlight flash gun from Godox. Now they reached out to me to make this content, it's sponsored content. I don't take many of these, I only do things that really pique my interest, and as such might pique the interest of my viewers as well. If you don't like this kind of thing, click away. That's the best way to do it. Go and do something much more worthwhile with your time. However, if you want to stick around, hear a few stories, hear how I use this thing, some of the good things about it, and some of the ins and outs of using it, then stick around. If you want the long story short, it's great. It's versatile, powerful, much smaller and lighter than you might think, and great. However, obviously it doesn't replace a full professional lighting setup. I think we can all kind of understand that. So I've dreamed of this thing, not this thing literally, but a flash gun like this over the years, over the last 30 years, I've literally dreamed of many of the features that are on here, of why they couldn't be built into other flash guns. And here it is in reality, in front of my eyes. The Godox iT32, actually it's really extraordinary. Do you like my new lighting, by the way? It's not really new, I just kind of found it, I was doing something else and I just thought I'd stick it on, see how it looks. I thought it looked a bit like Starlight Express, nice and fresh for 2026. Anyway, onwards. So why am I dreaming of flash guns? Why would I do such a thing? Well, you know, over the years, good Lord, I've had so many different lighting setups. I've made some videos about them. I've talked about some of them. We could go back in time into history of shooting film and back to the Vivitar 283s and all of that stuff. But let's not do that. Let's just talk kind of about what this thing actually is. So to begin with, this is a USB-C rechargeable unit, which everyone will have a different thought on that. You can't carry spare batteries, but what you can do is carry a power bank and a USB-C lead and charge it up. Now, I've heard that this thing will do like 300 to 500 flashes on one charge, and I've yet to flatten it, so I don't know. I've never had a problem with power yet. And I've used it for some reasonably kind of long form shooting, and it's kind of always been fantastic. Now, I will go on to tell you about some of the things that are really wonderful about this. So, right, here it is, and let's slot it onto my little Canon R8. There we go, the hot shoe. Tighten it up nice and tight. Look how tiny that is on there. Fantastic. And it has this swivel head, right? Either way if you want to bounce, and also up and down. So it doesn't go all the way around, but goes all the way around in one direction. So it's kind of cool, does everything that you want to do. And if you look on the front here, you will notice that it has a little kind of CTO gel. And that is clipped on, believe it or not, with magnets. Now, anyone that had those little wafer thin gels that we used to carry around 15 years ago and tried to gaffer tape onto flash guns and stuff to get that little CTO gel, just warms up the flash ever so slightly. Good Lord, the frustration of that. Elastic bands, gaffer tape all the way around the front, and there were different mods that could clip on and fall off and all of that stuff. This has just got some little magnets in it. Look at that. Clip, on it goes. Sweet, no drama. And it comes with a couple of these. Get two of these, one half and one full. I used to call it a half cut and a full cut of CTO. I've not actually, you know, tested the temperature of these, but I would imagine that's going to warm the flash gun up a little bit. Okay, let's take that off. Pop that over there. You also get this little reflector thing, that diffuser, I think they're called. I've never really been a huge fan of those, to be perfectly honest, but you get one of those. You also get this little stand that the thing clips onto, and a little bag thing. But it's so when we power the flash gun on, we find out that it has a touchscreen, and a backlit LED touchscreen, and it works really well. Good Lord, it's clear, easy to read in all different lights, and it actually works really well. You just tap it with your finger, push the power up or down. Now, it has a couple of modes, TTL, and it has manual, as well as a couple of the others that probably none of us will ever use. And it seems to work really well in both modes. Now, where it becomes really interesting is that, as you know, most flash guns you buy, and you buy them either for Canon or for Nikon or for Sony, and then if you change cameras or you have a couple of different camera systems, you have to get a different flash gun, right? This thing has different hot shoes for different camera manufacturers that you can change over. And it does it, this is the most beautiful thing, it does it magnetically. Good Lord, look, no kind of dicking about with leads or nuts or bolts or screws or anything like that. It's magnetic, and it's really actually quite strong magnet, which is really fantastic. So you can go out and you could buy a couple of different ones of these for your different cameras, and you can swap this across. That's pretty amazing as far as I'm concerned. But that's cool in itself, right? That is cool in itself, but that's not its only trick, because we put that onto the R8, right? That is cool, nice and tight. And even though that's got a magnetic mount on it, that ain't coming off. And that to me is very, very cool. But we can then take our pictures with the flash on the top of the camera as normal. Dush, dush, dush. Let's have a, take the lens cap off, right? Nice, okay, that works. We can take some pictures with bounce. Yeah, nice bounce. We can swivel the head. Yeah, nice. Now we want to do something a little bit more creative. We can just pop this flash gun off and it will still fire. I find that magic. And then we can just pop it back on. So if you're on a shoot and you are doing some, let's say, for example, you're doing an editorial shoot and you are doing some bounce flash and portraits of someone, reading a book in a library, for example, you're doing it with the flash on the camera on a 70mm lens, and it's all nice. And then you just come up with the idea of, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could put a light inside the bookcase to kind of show you some light coming out? Stick it inside the bookcase, bang, done, off you go. Oh no, it doesn't work so well, pop it back on the camera. None of this pulling guns off and putting triggers on and plugging it all together. Simple. And that will work in TTL or manual mode. Good Lord. Okay, is it powerful enough? Well, it's tiny. Look at the size of it. It is literally so small. Look, it's in my pocket, right? It's gone. It's forgotten about. It could be in there all day. That is, to me, amazing. Is it powerful enough? Well, actually, it packs a little bit more of a punch than you might think. I tested it the other day against a Canon Speedlight, which is my favourite kind of on-camera speed light for everyday use, and it's about half the power. I tested it against Godox Studio Light, and it was about 2 stops less. So it's not going to be the most powerful thing in the world, but with the higher ISO capabilities of these cameras, it can be pretty awesome. So you can control the power of the flash gun from the trigger directly by pressing either of these 2 buttons for more or less power. And while the TTL mode on this flash gun works reasonably well, it is a little bit rudimentary and can get caught out sometimes, but you can always flip it into manual mode for a little bit more control. Okay, what else will it do? What other party tricks does it have up its sleeve? Well, it has on the front a modelling light, which you can, with the touch screen, turn up or down. Now, you might think that that is an unnecessary add-on. You might think that it is a bit of a, unnecessary thing to have on a flash gun. But in this day and age of shooting video and shooting hybrid stills and all of that kind of stuff, sometimes just having a little light like this to be able to film with after you've shot your stills can actually be really important and really handy to have. So there we have it. The Godox iT32. Now I will explain to you, I'm going to show you a few pictures and a little bit of video footage of how I recently used this when I was just out and about just taking some pictures, and I remembered that I had it in my pocket. So I will just jump into the computer screen and we can talk through all of that now. Okay, so I was out and about with my camera and I came across this beautiful old anchor covered in knitted poppies, and I thought it might make a nice picture. Now I didn't have much kit with me. I had just my Canon R8 and the 24mm, and I happened to have that Godox flash gun in my pocket. And this kind of illustrates really how a beautiful way of using a flash gun like this, that it can be with you when nothing else is. So I don't have my big professional lighting rig, I've just got that little gun, and that's kind of, it fits into a travel setup perfectly like that, and can be a lot of fun and very versatile to use on any kind of different shoots. It's fantastic like that. And can be a lot of, bring a lot of joy actually, just messing around with different ways of shooting. And I think this is a good way of illustrating what I mean, that when I got here, it's getting late, the sun has gone down, and there's just not enough saturated light to bring out the colour in this anchor. Now, while it might be a bit atmospheric, I know that I can probably do a bit better by adding some light. So I found that flash gun in my pocket, dragged it out and had a go. The first frame is with direct on-camera flash. bang. And you can see that that is ever so harsh. It's got no dynamic quality to it. The front is lit up like a Belisha beacon down here, and it is just not very dynamic at all. Don't like that very much, even though it does bring out the colours in the poppies. So I came up with the idea of taking the flash gun off camera and popping it down here behind, I don't know if you can see, just behind, hidden in the knitted poppies down here so that the light would come up here. The next frame, now there is a little bit of post-production on this. I've changed a few things, but I've cropped it a little bit. But you can see there's a little telltale down there of where the light is. I've buried the flash gun in here, and it is giving this lovely dynamic quality of light, lighting up the end of the anchor, and then a highlight across the top, and just bringing a certain amount of dynamic quality to the picture, which I think with a little bit of editing turns into something that has a bit of narrative and is a really interesting picture, as well as this lone fisherman in the boat. I think adds a bit of story to it. And I think this is a classic example of how, when you're out and about, having a little flash gun like this that can operate easily off camera can really help to improve your creativity, I guess. The next example is, it's got a little bit darker now. The moon rise is just coming over the hill there. Don't know if you can see. This again has no available light. This is kind of very similar picture, but with another angle of lighting at the end. And again, this is on camera flash, too harsh, horrible, hate it. People refer to this as kind of the editorial look. And I kind of get that. It's kind of like a bit full frontal for me. Next frame, I've actually held the camera, the flash gun, off to the left-hand side with my arm stretched out. Maybe there's a little bit of video footage that you can see that of. And again, that helps a lot because you now have angular light, but it's still a little bit kind of lacking in dynamic quality. The next frame is again a little bit of editing done here, but this again has the light. You can see the highlight just coming across there. You can see that the gun is hidden around this corner and is firing remotely, and adds this dynamic quality to the light. I've done a little bit of editing again here, a little bit of cropping maybe, just to bring out the best in the picture. And I really like this picture. I think it has a lot of atmosphere. And if we dive off into the next frame, you can see from this picture that we now have the flash gun over here on the right-hand side, angled up towards the top of the anchor. Now, the moon is fully out now. We're kind of starting to see things happening. And this is the raw file. But if I hop into here, maybe in D mode, we can then go in and see what the picture looks like with a little bit of editing done to it. And it really does pop. We could go in here and we could crop that out if we wanted. Do we want? Don't know. What do you think? That's really nice because it puts our anchor right into the top third of the picture. We have our moonrise over there. We could easily, just with a little bit of filtration, just kill that off. Down here, we could easily do the same. Just in here, a little bit of graduated filter just to kind of add an effect. And there we are. In fact, I could go a little bit more on that side, couldn't I? What do you think? Finished file. I think that kind of really adds something to an otherwise bland picture. If we go right the way back to where we started, that's the first frame. That's where we get to in the end. What do you think? Let me know. Also, once you've got the camera, once you've got this thing off the camera, the little stand, of which I'm sure many of you will be very familiar, that speedlights can, let's just knock that modelling light off, that speedlights can typically slide into. This thing is magnetic. Again, I love magnetic. Magnetic is wonderful. And then you can kind of position that everywhere. But I've found that I don't really need it. I've found that you can just kind of wedge this, because it's so small and so easy, you can just kind of wedge it wherever you might need it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will be back very soon. Take care of yourselves.